Okay to have a smile on your face. It's a little more convincing. Good. And so I do a little fun songs up front, and then I get to share a message. And one of my favorite verses it goes like this. It says, "A spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down." Now I'm not sure where that verse is found, but I like it. So that's what I do. I have the sugar up front, and then I share a message. So my theme this year is all about a treasure. A treasure. Now in my house, when someone says the word treasure, because I have 3 boys, someone goes like this. R. I don't know why. But the Bible has a lot to say about a treasure. Where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. Store not up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moth and rust corrupt and thieves break in and steal, but store up for yourselves treasures in heaven. How many of you know what a treasure in heaven is? You ever go through the drive-thru at the bank, and that little plastic tube comes down that chute, and you open that little door, and you put stuff in there, and you hit the button, whoosh, and it just goes off into inner space. Is that like a treasure in heaven? No. All right. My wife has a debit card, right? No, a treasure in heaven is those things that last, those things that are eternal. And I believe the greatest treasure of all will simply be to one day be in the presence of Jesus himself. What an awesome day that'll be. Everybody say, "R." All right. Well, this is a story about a boy who lives in a faraway land. Okay, this is a story about my son. He lives in Tennessee. Which sounds better, faraway land or Tennessee? Well, my son's name starts with a J. He was named after a river in Israel. He was also named after a famous basketball player. That's right, Michael. And when my son Jordan, now he's 11 years old, but when he was 5 years old, he was on his first baseball team. You ever watch 5-year-olds play baseball? It is hilarious. It's so fun. Like the helmets are too big for them, right? So when they run to first, the helmet bounces on their head and they end up looking out the ear hole, right? It's hilarious watching 5-year-old kids play baseball. And so his first team, all these little 5-year-olds, and his first team was called the Wildcats. And the Wildcats had a perfect season. It was amazing. The Wildcats were 0-12. 0 wins and 12 losses. Perfect. How many of you would like to be on a team like that? Excellent. All right. Well, good. Let me tell you what you need to do. If you want your team to be 0-12 like the Wildcats, there's a few things you need to do. First, never practice. If you practice, you might improve, and you don't want to do that. Even when the weather is perfect, don't practice. Number 2, don't try hard. Give everything your worst effort. If you do hit the ball, don't run to first. Walk to third and see what happens. Or do what most of them did and just stand at home and wait. That's okay. So if you want to be 0-12, don't practice, don't try hard, and number 3, the most important thing, bring a bad attitude. Complain about everything, the weather, the uniform, the coaches, the position you're playing, the umpires, the other team, the snack bar, wah, wah, wah. If you do those 3 things, there's a real good chance that you too can be 0-12. And that's exactly what they did. It wasn't all that much fun. But at the end of the season, the Wildcats had a team party. And they were at the park, and they had games, and they had a barbecue, and they had hamburgers and hot dogs and frog legs and stuff. And then, at the end of the barbecue, they had all these little 5-year-old players stand up front. And the coaches congratulated them on a great season. And then each player received a beautiful trophy. Isn't that awesome? It's important to reward our children for not trying hard, not practicing, and complaining a lot. That way, hopefully they'll do it again next year. I thought they deserved the dirty sock trophy. Here you go. But they wanted everybody to be happy, you know. So they got what amounted to a participation trophy. But my little 5-year-old boy, look, Daddy, I got a trophy. I'm like, yeah, that's real nice. All right. And so we get home, and he puts his trophy up on his dresser. Nice, beautiful, shiny trophy. 2 weeks later, I walk into his room, and the trophy was gone. And I looked at my little 5-year-old boy, hey, where's that trophy? I don't know. I said, the beautiful trophy you got for baseball, where is it? I don't know. Those are the first 3 words that most children learn. I don't know. And I said, well, we better find that trophy. Let's look around the room. We looked around the room. We saw the trophy. We found it in the corner of the room underneath a bunch of dirty clothes. And the helmet and the bat were already broken off. His baseball player had been beheaded. And I looked and I said, how did that happen? I don't know. So we put his trophy back up on the dresser. We got some Elmer's glue and tried to put it back together. It didn't work. Do you think that trophy meant a lot to my son? Do you think his heart was really attached to that trophy? That it represented hard work? No. I don't think it meant anything to him. Honestly, I don't even know where the trophy is now. I think it's been melted down and given away to science or something. But then a few years later, my other son, Cody, was on a baseball team when he was 12 years old, and they were called the Eagles. And the Eagles had a group of grandfathers that went to all their practices and all their games, and the grandfathers were called the Bald Eagles. I discovered that was due to their superior eyesight and hunting skills. But the Eagles had a perfect season as well. They were 12-0. 12 wins and 0 losses. How many of you'd like to be on a team like that? Good. Well, let me tell you what they did. Number 1, they practiced every day, all year, rain or shine, hot or cold, tornado warnings, lightning, it didn't matter. They were out there. Practice, practice, practice. Number 2, they tried very hard. They ran in practice, they ran in the games, they hustled, they ran to first, they dove into the and they were always 100% hustle. And number 3, they had great attitudes. The coaches and the players on this team, fantastic. They prayed before the games. After the games, they even thanked the umpires. Whew, that's hard to do sometimes. They always shook hands with the other team. They had great attitudes. They practiced all the time, 100% effort, and a great attitude. And they were 12-0. Nice. And then they went to the county playoffs and they won 6 more games, and now they were the county champions and they were 18-0. And then they went to the state playoffs, and whoever wins the state playoffs gets to go to the Little League World Series, right? All these 12-year-old kids, and they were so excited. So they go to the state playoffs, they're 18-0, they win 5 more games, they make it all the way to the state championship, and they lose the final game 6-4. Oh. And they finished their season 23-1. And my son pitched like every other game, his arms dragging on the ground. Like, oh, more Gatorade, Dad. And I watched his team after that final game. You know what? They were still smiling. They congratulated the other team. They thanked the umpires, and they had a great attitude. They were winners. They were winners. And then at the end of the season, they had a team party, and they had hamburgers and hot dogs and frog legs. Tastes like chicken. Rubbery chicken. And then at the end of the party, they had all these 12-year-old players come up front, and they presented each player with a really nice trophy. A trophy that had both the head and the bat still attached. And so my 12-year-old son gets home, he puts that trophy up on his dresser. 3 years later, guess where that trophy is now? It's still there. It's still in one piece. He keeps it shiny and clean and nice. 2 trophies. One meant absolutely nothing to my son, and it's gone, it's broken, it's disappeared. The other one represents hard work, a great season, good memories. His heart is attached to this one, and he's taking good care of it without anyone telling him to, because it means a lot to him. This trophy meant nothing. This trophy meant a lot. And I started thinking about these 2 different trophies, and it really occurred to me that this is how Jesus views us. His heart and his passion is connected to us. We are not like a participation trophy that was just born and we showed up. We are like this trophy that he poured himself into. And when you study and learn about all that Jesus did, including going to the cross, he did that out of the passion of his heart. When he sees us, I believe he's reminded of all that he's poured into you as a person. You're more than a participation trophy. One of my favorite parables is in Matthew 13. You guys ever read parables? Who knows what a parable is? What's a good definition for a parable? Anyone? Anyone? An earthly story with a heavenly meaning? Right. I was in Texas and I asked the same question, and this cattle rancher stood up. He goes, "Parable's 2 large cows." I don't get it. Anyway, Matthew 13, it says, the kingdom of heaven is like a treasure hidden in a field, and when a man found it, he picked it up and slipped it in his pocket. No. The kingdom of heaven is like a treasure hidden in a field. When a man found it, he hid it again. Then in all his joy, he went and sold all that he had, and he bought that field. How many have heard that parable before? Good. I've heard it preached on many times. And there's a lot of different ways to look at that parable. What would you do if you were walking through an enormous Iowa cornfield, and of course you're lost, but you came across something valuable, right? Something small and valuable. You'd probably look both directions, pick it up, slide it in your pocket, and say, "Thank you, Lord," right? Even though it didn't belong to you. It belonged to the landowner, right? But in this parable, he finds something valuable, leaves it there, joyfully goes and sells everything he has to raise enough money to buy the whole field so that he legally had the rights to that treasure. And that's kind of what Jesus did for us. He left his heavenly throne, he came to this earth, and he gave up everything for you. You are that valuable treasure. And then the other way I've heard this parable preached is to reverse that around. You and I are walking through our lives, and we discover all that is beautiful and amazing and wonderful and holy about Jesus, and we drop everything else and we follow him. He is that treasure. You know what? I think both of those are right. We love him because he first loved us. Let's say that together. Ready? We love him because he first loved us. You know, one of my favorite TV shows is on the History Channel. And it comes to us from Iowa. Did you know you have an Iowa TV show? American Pickers. That's right. You guys watch that? It has nothing to do with your nose, all right? If you haven't seen American Pickers, it's these two guys that enthusiastically, with all their joy, go out and find stuff in backyards, in barns, everywhere. They find old antique things and they bring them back to their shop and they clean them up and then they sell them to rich people from Chicago. And they're based in Iowa, right? These guys are smart. They know history. They know their stuff. And I love that show because these guys are so enthusiastic about everything they find, right? It's hilarious. And I was watching the show back in June, and one of the guys found a hood ornament for like a 1958 Studebaker, right? I thought he was going to pass it.